Manchester Science Festival is a fantastic celebration of science. We've got events across the city centre and boroughs across Greater Manchester. We've got loads of different events for different audiences. So we've got science shows and hands-on activities for families. We've got walks and tours around the city exploring the history of science. We've got musical productions, theatre, performance and comedy. So it's a really exciting blend of events for families and adults. We've also got loads of different debates which will be exploring cutting edge science and some of the latest science going on in Manchester and around the world. But I think my highlight was probably Polar. It's an orchestral performance about the polar regions. So we have the Manchester Camerata playing beautiful, beautiful music to background footage. And that footage was high definition film from the polar regions. So you could see polar bears dancing around and swimming and penguins splashing about in the water, all to this fantastic, beautiful music. I think what I loved about it is it's another unique way, I suppose, of exploring science. I studied biology, chemistry and maths at school. I got very, very excited about biology, so I went on to study medical microbiology and immunology at the University of Newcastle. While I was there, I thought that I wanted to go into media and be the next David Attenborough. It's a very, very difficult field to get into, and instead of that I decided to become a science presenter. So I basically communicated science to the public, did science shows and workshops. From that I got into organising science events. So I've organised Newcastle Science Festival, British Science Festival, and now I'm organising Manchester Science Festival here at the Museum of Science and Industry. I think Manchester's biggest science contribution is probably the baby computer. It was the world's first computer with a memory, so it could store a programme and actually keep that memory in the computer. And we've got a model here at the Museum of Science and Industry which is 1/10 of the size of the actual computer. So if you come in and have a look at that computer, it's really big. In reality it was 10 times the size of that, which is quite incredible. And that whole computer could store 1 kilobyte of memory. 1 kilobyte. So if you think of your phone device or something like that, it could be about 32 gigabytes. That's 32 million kilobytes. And that first computer, that first memory with it, that first computer with a memory had 1 kilobyte of memory. I think that's quite incredible. And that has really set the scene for computing and for every kind of technological function that we use today. Manchester's the perfect place to get inspired by science. There's so much heritage, you know, the baby computer, John Dalton. I mean, we've just had some Nobel Prize winners. Last year they discovered graphene. There's so much to get inspired by, and I think there's so much going on in the city for people to have a flavour of science and to really enjoy science. So we've got the Museum of Science and Industry, Manchester Museum, events like Manchester Science Festival, and the universities contribute to those events so much, so you can have a face-to-face interaction with scientists, find out what they do, have a look at their experiments, and I think it's just a fantastic place for future scientists. There are other science festivals around the country. Manchester's been going for 5 years, so we're a relatively new festival, but we have lots to offer. There are festivals in Edinburgh, that's one of the longest established science festivals. There's festivals down south, so there's one in Cambridge, Cheltenham, Wrexham, and it's just fantastic that the science festival's popping up all over the place, because it just gives the public more chance to get along and find out how exciting science really is. Well, Manchester Science Festival takes place over 9 days in October half term, so it's the perfect activity for families because everyone's off from school and there's absolutely loads going on. So you'll find lots of hubs of activity at Manchester Museum, the Museum of Science and Industry, and all the universities in the area tend to put on big drop-in days where you can meet scientists, find out what they do, get involved, explore some hands-on activities. But if you really want to get the most out of the festival, I suggest you get hold of the programme when it's out in the summer and find out what event you might like, get booked in nice and early so you can get your whole programme of events set up, ready to go. We've also got a series of summer events that we go out to festivals and do science busking. So we take scientists with us and they have a suitcase full of tricks and science demos and they can wow you with science. So that will give you a little bit of a flavour of the science festival. We've achieved a lot in 5 years. Manchester Science Festival is just going to grow from strength to strength. We've got a lot of public support, we've got a lot of partnerships, a lot of organisations that we work with, and we're currently just trying to secure some more funding for the future. So hopefully with some new partnerships we'll be taking the festival forward and doing even more exciting things, hopefully working more with community groups, but also pushing the boundaries a little bit with some cultural events and bringing out the creative side of science.